Welcome back to my 30 days of dragon paths here in September. Today we are going to be focusing on Draconic Witchcraft and how you can start working on Draconic Witchcraft after this video. This is going to be a complete beginner's guide with free resources for you on Patreon, my website, my Tumblr, my Facebook, my Instagram, my TikTok, my Amino, and Discord, and oh my goodness, it's just to make sure that everybody can understand and have access to Draconic Witchcraft. And just a disclaimer here, the way that I understand and define Draconic Witchcraft in this video might be different than how some other people define Draconic Witchcraft in their personal practices, and that is completely valid. The Dragon's Path and Dragon Magic, Draconic Witchcraft, and everything is a completely unique and individualized practice. I'm only sharing my systems that I have cultivated with my dragons over my lifetime, simply because I was very confused at trying to understand dragon magic when I was young and not having a very specific detailed breakdown of all the terms and definitions and different paths and variations. So that's what this September series is all about, is providing clarity and providing the just various practices that I've learned with my dragons. So with that out of the way, this video will be broken up into 5 parts, okay? And we have the guide, the notes, the basics, the how anyone from any faith or religion can practice, and the tips and tricks that I have for you. So timestamps will be in the description, but let's start with part 1. Ready? So I have my notes so I don't miss anything. So Draconic Witchcraft guide for part 1. This is often a unique blend of witchcraft the practitioner learns or is like trusted or trained in by one or more dragon spirit guides, guardians, or even a dragon deity. This is often a craft taught to the practitioner by the dragon exclusively. So this is how we define Draconic Witchcraft, because it is very different for each practitioner, the way that they practice witchcraft with their dragons, but generally speaking, it's a blend of witchcraft with dragons in some shape or form, right? So Draconic Witchcraft is a craft of magic, rituals, or spells that has a deep reverence, appreciation, and genuine love for the dragons, and usually their mythology as well. So most practitioners of Draconic Witchcraft are going to study dragon mythology and study witchcraft, and then they're going to blend it together in their own unique way. That's pretty much how we got Draconic Witchcraft today. And then next, Draconic Witchcraft is usually common for a dragon witch to be dedicated to a dragon deity throughout history, but sometimes it's many or all of them. So I just wanted to emphasize how Draconic Witchcraft, sometimes it's really heavily influenced by certain dragon deities like Tiamat, for example, or Leviathan, or Jormungandr, or Apep, or, you know, literally insert any dragon deity from history. And it has a huge focus on working with said deity within Draconic Witchcraft, and it could even be with a deity that's not like specifically a dragon, but it has like snake or serpent or dragon symbolism, like Hecate or Lilith or Melusina or Aphrodite, to name a few. They have some dragon mermaid symbolism or serpent symbolism as well. And even infernals can often be considered to have like dragon aspects. So these all can tie into a practitioner's personal practice of Draconic Witchcraft. It really just depends what Draconic Witch you're talking to, right? So next, Draconic Witchcraft is understanding nature, life, and beyond through the symbolism and the eye of the true dragons. This is how we become a dragon witch. And this is something that I wanted to emphasize within Draconic Witchcraft specifically, is that they really are defined by their connection with the dragon spirits in nature in a ritualized sense, and also like usually a more like esoteric or spiritual understanding of reality itself through the lens of dragons via their mythology specifically. That's, for the most part, generally speaking, what Draconic Witchcraft kind of looks like. So next we have the beliefs of Draconic Witchcraft, which typically believes in the natural world having power and sees the natural world personified in dragon images, riddles and symbolism, but many are atheists. So I think that's a common misconception about Draconic witchcraft, is that people who practice Draconic witchcraft are like inherently worshiping dragons. That's actually really not the case. Most of the Draconic witches that I know personally are atheist. They don't even like believe dragon spirits are real. They actually only work with the symbolism within their witchcraft, like on their table. Instead of just the element of earth, well, you can bet your sweet beans they're calling on an elemental earth dragon. Okay, so that's just a little thing that I wanted to highlight here, because shout out to my atheist witches out there who love dragons. Okay, so next we have the Draconic Witchcraft practice, which typically performs magical rituals, ceremonies, meditations, or spells with dragons as instructed by the dragons or with their symbolism. Now, that's just generally speaking. Again, their practice for every single dragon witch is genuinely going to change depending on who you're talking to. And it's really hot out here, so I have my tea. We are drinking a lavender dragon oolong tea from the tea gardens where I live. Oh, it's so good. I'm so obsessed. But anyway, back to the task at hand. Now we have the Draconic Witchcraft purpose. So typically for self-transformation, to honor nature, or for healing, or as just a genuine spiritual discipline. Again, every Draconic witch is going to be practicing Draconic Witchcraft for their own reasons, of course, and each one may vary, but you'll mostly find like an overlap of these themes that I've discussed. So how to start Draconic Witchcraft. Some dedicate or initiate themselves into like a practice of Draconic Witchcraft, but one needs only practice witchcraft with dragons to begin. And chances are, if you practice witchcraft and you have done so with dragons at any point in time in your craft, then you've already practiced Draconic Witchcraft according to the way that I understand it and have been taught Draconic Witchcraft by my dragon guardians. So now we're going into part 2 of this video. I have my notes here again so I don't miss anything, and we have my Draconic Witchcraft notes. So this is what makes my system of witchcraft with the dragons and how my system is unique to my understandings and teachings, right? So this is how my particular understanding of Draconic Witchcraft differs with most people, if not everyone I've spoken with. So it also might be similar for you. So let me know in the comments what you believe Draconic Witchcraft is, because I really would love to know. So first we have, in my practice and by the definitions of my dragon guardians, if you learn the craft from the dragons or a craft from them, I would clarify or classify that as Draconic Witchcraft. All that means is that if I, as a little kid, had an imaginary dragon guardian that I reconnected with at some point in my life, or literally maintain that connection with this dragon guardian through my whole life and have learned witchcraft from them, even the basics, then I would consider your entire practice Draconic Witchcraft by the way that I understand working with dragons. So next, I have, throughout my lifetime, I have encountered more Draconic witches than I can count, and each one has a uniquely cultivated Draconic Witchcraft practice. And what I mean by that is that because each like witch who works with dragons, or each dragon witch, the dragons that we work with are so unique and so different, and even if we work with the same dragon deities, our experience with them is going to be so unique and different to each of us, as the dragon witches are just as unique as the dragons that we work with. So this means that every single like dragon witch I've ever met has a very unique and very personal, very sacred craft that they have cultivated with the dragons over their lifetime, or they are beginning to initiate to craft with the dragons now, because they're just beginning their journey. So that's something I wanted to like really emphasize, is that like if you learn like your craft, not only your craft from the dragons, but if you're cultivating a particular type of witchcraft with your dragons, that is Draconic Witchcraft. I don't care. Like some people have disagreed with me. They say it needs to be like have dragons involved in this way, that like you have to have their symbolism involved or whatever. But no, I believe even learning like necromancy from the dragons is Draconic Witchcraft. Okay. Moving forward, we have Draconic Witchcraft is often ritualized or a handmade art, but always with a focus on dragon symbolism or to honor a dragon or guided by the dragons. So that's something that I also wanted to kind of emphasize, is that Draconic witchcraft is more of a practical practice than it is more of like a religious belief system, right? Or like a spiritual belief system, right? Next, we have any craft honed for the connection to a dragon deity, like Tiamat, for example. I would consider Draconic witchcraft specifically. So if you are just a practitioner, or if you're just a devotee of a particular dragon deity, like Leviathan or Tiamat or Apep or anything like that, anything that you do in a way to honor them and connect with them in your personal spiritual practice or in your personal craft, I consider that Draconic witchcraft, as my dragons have taught me this way. Let's see. Next, we have generally any ritualized or crafting or casting type of practice with dragons in some way, shape, or form is considered Draconic witchcraft. And that is just a general overview of how I view it. Now, a lot of people disagree with me here because they say it's, again, too broad. That usually is kind of like the main contention with like my definitions of dragon magic and the way that I understand them. People say that they're not specific enough, in the sense that like I just like am very broad with what I define things as dragon magic or Draconic witchcraft, but it's just the way that I see reality. I really am like a symbolic, metaphorical, like a deep correspondence type of thinker, and that's the way that I work with my dragons. And so I really study things to see hidden meanings that are there in plain sight. I don't believe in the occult in the sense that things are hidden. I believe that you can learn anything you want in this reality simply by having the eyes to see it, okay? And that is what the dragons have taught me, okay? That is why it's Draconic witchcraft, in my opinion. Okay, anyway, moving forward, we have regular witchcraft performed, but also invoking a dragon of any kind is also already Draconic witchcraft. And all that means is that if I was hosting like a regular witchcraft circle, but I decided to call upon like a dragon guardian, for example, or a dragon deity, for example, then that would make it Draconic witchcraft, in my personal opinion. And the way that like my dragons have taught me, right? So lastly, we have any high magic or advanced spell casting that lacks lineage, I would consider Draconic witchcraft. And the reason why is because I consider any form of advanced magic, any form of advanced ritual art to be dragon magic by definition. We went over this in yesterday's episode. If you didn't see the episode yesterday, you're definitely going to want to check it out, because we covered Dragon Magic 101. It's a complete beginner's guide just like this one. And we covered how dragon magic is even like the hardest, most advanced, unique arcane arts, in the sense that if it's hard, if it's unique, if it's one of a kind, then it's dragon magic, in the sense that it's like the top level. Like I consider Draconic witchcraft like advanced, like premium advanced witchcraft as well. And that is probably the biggest point of contention for where people find my definition of Draconic witchcraft unfavorable. But it's just the way that my dragons have taught me, and so that's just what I'm here to share with you. But let me know what you think. Do you think that that's Draconic witchcraft, or do you have a different definition? Because I would love to know. And now we are in we are in chapter 3, and we have, again, the notes. This is about the Draconic witchcraft basics. So this is basically how to get started with the fundamentals of Draconic witchcraft, and how to begin today, right after this video, if you are so interested in beginning Draconic witchcraft for yourself. So step 1, the most important parts of Draconic witchcraft are spiritual safety, okay? So get really, really good with understanding spiritual safety. And then we have a general witchcraft understanding. I'm gonna need you to study witchcraft, study it generally speaking, like the basics, the beginners, the history of where it comes from, different practices, and how witchcraft changes throughout history, and the history of the word witchcraft, and how it gets lost in translation. That's really important, okay? And then I'm going to need you to have a little bit of experience in witchcraft, just generally speaking. That's going to help you the best when you want to practice Draconic witchcraft. And then you're going to need knowledge of spirit and deity work. Not necessarily that you're going to work with dragon spirits or work with dragon deities, but it's definitely really essential to just know how to when you're getting involved in Draconic witchcraft, because you can likely just naturally encounter dragon spirits and dragon deities in your practice, and just having that knowledge is really good and critical, okay? So Knowledge in dragon historical mythology is probably the most important thing I'm going to recommend for you if you want to start Draconic Witchcraft today. Literally, go hit the books, okay? And if you are interested in getting resources for studying like dragon witchcraft or dragon mythology, definitely go check out the Hatchling Clan Discord server or hit my link tree, okay? All of those information, like links and stuff, will be there for you. And you can always ask me questions in the Hatchling Clan. We have a dragon questions chat room, so you can always ask your questions for free. There's literally nothing but, you know, support there, and we get back to you as soon as we can, right? So then after you study your mythology, we're going to need you to have a working space dedicated to the dragons, even if it's just within yourself. I understand not everybody can have an altar in their home or have a room dedicated to working with dragons. I understand that's a privilege, but everybody can create and cultivate a practice within themselves, be it meditation or an inner realm or some type of practice they do within their visualized space or their internal space that can host a connection with dragons. And you can practice this like in the shower if you are in the closet, or like you can do it when you're walking to school, or you can do it when you're like sitting at work and you have a second, like, or on break at work or anything like that, right? Like, I'm just saying, like, get creative with it. It doesn't have to be so specific, so rigid in the way that you have to comply, right? Like, that's not what Draconic Witchcraft is, okay? So that's pretty much step one, getting all of those like parts of the puzzle in order and focused in a way that you feel works for you. Okay, next we have step 2. That's going to be connect with the dragons in the ways you feel called to. For some, that's only studying symbolism, but others, they may feel called to connect with dragon spirit guides or even a dragon deity if they call to you more or the most. Whatever really works the most for the practitioner is going to be what happens for them, but it's essentially step 2 is understanding what's your relationship to dragons, how do you connect with them, and how do you define them in your craft within witchcraft. That's really important for step 2. And then step 3, we have once you meet your dragons and understand their symbolism and history more than you can, more than like you can keep searching for, right? Like, you've just done really good research. Then you can begin to experiment by calling upon dragons and adding the dragon imagery and symbolism into your own practice of witchcraft. And step number 3 is really the experimental phase with discovering what's your own personal flavor of Draconic Witchcraft. You really don't know what that is until you start experimenting with it. And that's also what I really try to emphasize with people is, like, when you're practicing dragon magic or Draconic Witchcraft or following any dragon path, truly, it's about experimentation and seeing what works for you and what feels good for you. It's about how your practice makes you feel. A lot of people say it's about practicing your feelings. No, it's about how your practice makes you feel, okay? Like, I don't even know what that means. Anyway, like, practicing your feelings. I don't know, feel your feelings, but like, that's not the only thing in this world. You have to practice what makes you feel good. Otherwise, it's a waste of your time. Personally, in my own, and personally, just what I think. Step number 4 is you may choose to try any dragon magic rituals or Draconic Witchcraft tutorials online or within books to get a general sense of Draconic Witchcraft. A lot of people really struggle experimenting without some sort of like basic example, and you can find plenty of rituals here on my channel, but there's also many books that you can get, like Dancing with Dragons and Mystical Dragon Magic by DJ Conway, to name one of them. And you can also get just like, you know, look online and see what rituals there are and see how you can add dragons to any examples that you can find. And that's a great place to start, truly. It's a really good place to start, and there's no shame in adapting rituals you find online to work for you. Like, that is how I learned too. Like, please, have you seen my channel? I'm literally so young when I first started this thing. Okay, anyway, step number 5 is to really get started. I recommend connecting to a dragon guardian, then asking them for a protection spell. And this is really kind of like what I would consider like the dragon, like step number 1 within Draconic Witchcraft, is to connect with that dragon guardian or a dragon spirit guide, some sort of dragon. Even if it is a dragon deity, you're going to want to connect with them. But then you're going to want to ask them for a protection spell and ask them that it's one that's only for you, right? Like, and this is something that you are going to start to develop a practice with, right? It's that getting in touch with that, you know, dragon spirit or deity or whatever it may be, and then cultivating that relationship, right? And then through that, asking for their guidance, asking for their wisdom and knowledge in the form of a spell or a ritual, and starting it with protection, and then moving from that and like growing and expanding your practice, right? Like from protection to any kind of magic from there, right? And that's really kind of step one on how to actually get started on trial and error based cultivation of your own draconic witchcraft, right? And step number 6 is get a journal to track your progress with the dragons. Over these steps, you're gonna really wanna just get super connected with dragons, in the sense of make sure you write that down, because when you have that written down and your experiences written down and your wisdom written down and your understanding written down, guess what you get to do? You get to reflect on that throughout your lifetime and extract wisdom over time, and that makes your practice even more valuable. Trust me, it just does. And then step number 7, lastly, is repeat rituals and spells you enjoyed and the ones that worked to better develop your craft. And that is pretty much the basics of Draconic Witchcraft on how to get started right now today if you wanted to. But you might be confused on how Draconic Witchcraft fits into your practice. So that's why part 4 of this video is going to be about Draconic Witchcraft for all. So here's my notes, basically all about how no matter what your faith is or religious orientation or what your belief system is, you can practice Draconic Witchcraft. And these are a little bit of the examples of what that might look like for you in your practice depending on what your faith is. So the following is an example of how each type of believer will experience Draconic Witchcraft differently. So number 1, we have atheists. For those who don't believe in a higher power, Draconic Witchcraft may look like high magic, rituals, and spells with the dragons symbolically as representation for elements or processes in the practice. That means you can have a ritual like designed after a like after a dragon symbolism, right? Like after dragon fire, for example, after like a dragon hatching through an egg, for example. That might be an example of what an atheist ritual, like dragon ritual, looks like. And also they might just use dragons as like the elemental representations on their altar, not necessarily believing that they're real actual spirit guardians or anything like that. So that's what it like Draconic Witchcraft might look like for you if you are atheist. And I am having a real hard time here with how hot it is. Please forgive me, okay? It's really brutal. I'm trying my best. Okay, so number 2, okay, we have polytheists. For polytheists, or those who believe in multiple divine creative forces, then Draconic Witchcraft may look like holding rituals to worship or work with multiple dragon spirits and dragon gods, or asking for their aid and ritual in like within ritual and crafting and casting. Let me try that again. It says or calling upon multiple dragon spirits and dragon gods, or asking for their help and aid within ritual or crafting or casting. So all that means is that you're probably going to have relationships with many different dragon deities, in the sense of you believe that they are divine creative sources and they're your gods that you worship. Okay, this is very common for polytheistic draconic witches. And that's what Draconic Witchcraft just like might look like for you if you are polytheistic. Now, next, if you are monotheistic, for those who believe in one creative divine source, Draconic Witchcraft might look like worshiping God as a dragon, or holding rituals of dancing with dragons to worship God together, or the dragons are symbolic signs of God or perceived as gifts from God. And that's just an example of what it might look like for you if you are practicing Draconic Witchcraft as a monotheist. And next we have omnist. So if you are, for those who believe there are truth in every religion, for example, and faith, then Draconic Witchcraft might look like holding rituals to honor and dance with all dragons in history. And it might just look like studying the dragons within all of human history and extracting the truth and believing that all of them are real. That's kind of what Draconic Witchcraft might look like for you if you're an omnist. And if you are an amnist, this is kind of like what Draconic Witchcraft might look like for you. So for those who believe in all things having consciousness and spiritual energy, then Draconic Witchcraft might look like honoring the dragon spirits even within your magical tools. So all I say that to say is that if you are an amnist and you connect with you know, the spiritual energy in everything, then you're going to honor everything likely as having a dragon spirit of some kind. And this is a really beautiful way to work with Draconic Witchcraft, and I practiced this way many times in my lifetime. I've bounced back and forth from all of these types of practices, landing on monotheistic, but I really do encourage everybody to try all of them, because chances are you might not actually know what you want to resonate with. You might not know what really fits for you, right? In your Draconic Witchcraft, excuse me. But I recommend taking your time, especially if you don't know, because this is no rush, okay? Like, there's nothing wrong with not being sure yet. Like, sometimes it just takes some experiencing and takes some experimenting, and ultimately it's about your journey, right? Like, take your time in discovering who you are, and your practice should make you feel excited about discovering yourself and your connection to the divine and the dragons, of course. But that's it for part 4, okay? Now we're getting into the last part, which is the Draconic Witchcraft tips, or Draconic Witchcraft tips I have for you. And basically, these are my best tips, tricks, and reminders for Draconic Witchcraft, how to stay on the path and how to get back on the path if you feel like you have fallen off of Draconic Witchcraft, right? So these are just like my best tips that I've learned and experienced and was taught by my dragons over like my lifetime, right? So first we have, if you already practice witchcraft with dragons in any way, then that's literally Draconic Witchcraft. And that's just how I personally identify it, and how I personally see people practicing Draconic Witchcraft, not only in my day-to-day reality, but also online and just throughout life, right? And then next we have, to develop a unique practice of Draconic Witchcraft, I recommend connecting with a dragon spirit guide, then asking them to teach you witchcraft in this way. And that is going to build a very intimate connection with your dragons. I did this with my dragon guardian Monte. I worked very closely with Monte when I was young, specifically to make Draconic Wicca. If you haven't seen any of my videos on Draconic Wicca and how I founded this practice, I definitely recommend you go check my Draconic Wicca playlist out. But we will also be covering Draconic Wicca tomorrow, I believe, or Draconic Magic with a K tomorrow, actually. But we're covering Draconic Wicca this week, and I just wanted to say that I couldn't have done it without that relationship with my dragon Monte, right? And that's why I encourage anyone to really take who really takes witchcraft seriously, to pursue learning witchcraft more from a dragon guardian, or starting to learn witchcraft from a dragon guardian. Next we have, if Draconic Witchcraft is meant for you, then chances are you would feel most alive performing rituals and spells with your dragons outside in nature. And that's something I really wanted to emphasize for Draconic Witchcraft, is the ritualistic nature, the ritualistic practice within nature is very important. And it's really important to connecting with dragons this way in Draconic Witchcraft, and also to just connect to the natural world and to thyself. Next we have, if you seek healing of the spiritual kind, then rituals and spells with dragons may be for you. And this is what I personally recommend for people who are recovering from really complex trauma like CPTSD. Draconic Witchcraft and the symbolism of dragons can really be helpful in addition to any sort of healthcare regimens that you're already on. They are no replacement for healthcare, please understand that. They are just beautiful practices and disciplines to hold, to also help us heal, if you will. So next we have, if you are an advanced practitioner of witchcraft looking for expansion and growth, then Draconic Witchcraft is often the final step within a witchcraft practice. And this is, again, a point of contention for how I personally identify and understand Draconic Witchcraft, as being the advanced witchcraft, like the final stage of advanced magic and advanced witchcraft practices. And again, it's totally understandable if people disagree with this. It's totally valid if people see it differently. I'm just here to share the way that I've experienced my life with my dragons and how they have taught me. And that's why when I find people who have been practicing witchcraft for decades and they have no idea really about dragons, I tell them maybe that's a really good place to start if you're looking for a new place to expand in your practice. A lot of practitioners of magic feel like they plateau at a certain point in their practice, and if they don't know anything about dragons, or they have very little experience with dragons, that is where I recommend practitioners of witchcraft to go for their final stage of their witchcraft journey, is Draconic Witchcraft. So that's just me personally, but everybody's different and entitled to their own unique practice, of course. But next we have the most self-transformational, empowering, and healing rituals of my life have been the Draconic Witchcraft of casting a circle and dancing with dragons and gratitude for God creating us together in this life. I just wanted to share that this is a personal note for me in my personal Draconic Witchcraft practice. A lot of people, especially within the Muslim community, get very confused because yes, hey, hi, hello, I'm a Muslim. They get confused that I practice witchcraft, but the witchcraft that I practice isn't as defined in the Quran via Arabic of the words sihir and shirk. So that's like, you can check out my monotheistic or my Muslim monotheistic magic playlist if you want to learn a little bit more about that. But I wanted to share this particular tip in my Draconic Witchcraft tips as a personal testimony to how each person's practice with the Draconic Witchcraft is so unique, right? Like, that is my own personal way of connecting, which is just to illustrate how your personal way of connecting is going to be so unique and individualized to you that only you could discover it. Do you understand? Like, that's what I'm trying to illustrate here. And then next we have, or lastly we have, within rituals you earn from the dragons you connect with, develop your craft with, but some choose to ask their dragons for an initiation before they begin. So all this means is that the Draconic Witchcraft is truly about working with dragons and cultivating witchcraft with dragons and rituals and spells with the dragons, and ultimately it is learning from them, right? It is, you know, growing upon the path that they help cultivate for us and practicing the rituals and spells and magic that they give us as gifts from working with them. And that's pretty much my beginner's guide to Draconic Witchcraft. And let me know what you think Draconic Witchcraft is and how you define it in the comments below, so we cover everybody's perspective in this video, because I just love learning new ways that you engage with dragons. It's my favorite thing to learn about, so definitely please leave me those comments. And if you have not already, definitely check out yesterday's episode about dragon magic with a K. I have a bee that just landed on me. That's so scary, holy crap. But anyway, we love bees, we love bee dragons, all right? But anyway, if you have not seen yesterday's video, definitely go check out the dragon magic from yesterday. Tomorrow we're covering dragon magic with a K. Yesterday we covered dragon magic with no K, and yes, there's a difference in my personal practice. All of the free resources will be there for you on Patreon, my website, you know, the Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Tumblr, Amino, Discord, all of it. And we will also be having more discourse in the Hatchling Clan, of course. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. Thank you for spending some of your time with me today. And if you're new here, assalamu alaikum, merry me, and welcome back to your daily dose of DragonFaether. My name is Azura DragonFaether, the Draconic Priestess, and I've been working with dragons since the 90s, here to share with you basically what I've learned along nearly 30 years of practice. And I will definitely be seeing you very soon, and tomorrow actually, or tonight. I will be seeing you tonight at midnight for a tarot reading, and tomorrow at noon for another dragon path. But until next time, stay geeky, cheeky, and freaky, a little hatchlings. Ding, okay? But Kadafis, blessed be an Amin. And please follow me so we don't get lost.
We'll see you back next time for your DDLDF, and like, comment, subscribe for your DDLDF. And if you didn't get enough, make sure to check down below to see what I'm up to and be in the know. So stay geeky and cheeky and freaky, little hatchlings.